If you're smart, work hard, and even exceeds expectations, you may still get passed over. Here's the brutal truth. Promotion decisions aren't just handed to the most intelligent or the most hardworking person. They're rewarded to the person who produces results, builds trust and influence, and demonstrates leadership without a title. Today we're exploring why smart, hardworking people don't get promoted, and the 3 invisible traps that I've observed in my career that keep them stuck. I'll be honest, I fell straight into trap 2. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Lakan, and I help people make better decisions to build wealth and achieve holistic success in a rapidly changing world. So if you feel like you've hit a bit of a ceiling that shouldn't be there, this video is for you. The first trap is the most seductive because it's built on your greatest strength, your expertise. We've been told since we were 5 years old that knowledge is power. So you study, specialize, and even become the go-to person. But eventually that knowledge can actually become a cage. This is what Sidney Finkelstein calls the expertise trap. When you're used to being the smartest person in the room, your identity stops being about learning and starts being about knowing. You start to defend your territory instead of expanding it. The danger here isn't just about what you know, it's about how you identify. Most high achievers believe they are open to growth because they work harder than everyone else. But there's a subtle, dangerous shift that happens when you become the expert. According to research by Carol Dweck, you can inadvertently slip into a fixed mindset where your intelligence stops being a tool you can use and starts becoming a status you have to protect. You begin to avoid the very challenges that might level you up, because in your head, a mediocre result wouldn't just mean that the project failed. It would mean that you aren't the smart one anymore. You stop being someone who does smart things and start becoming someone who is smart. And a person who is smart can't be seen as a beginner. Now, don't misunderstand me. Knowing isn't the enemy. In fact, your deep knowledge is exactly what allows you to produce results today. But the trap isn't that you know things, it's that you stop learning things. In a healthy career or business, knowing and learning needs to grow in parallel. The moment your knowledge becomes a ceiling that prevents your learning from rising is when you stop being an asset and start becoming a relic. This is why many experienced professionals get out-promoted by younger team members who know less, but have shown they are willing to learn even more. Let me ask you this. Have you ever sat in a meeting, heard someone's suggestion that challenged your method, and felt an immediate flash of defensiveness instead of curiosity? If so, that is the sound of your expertise becoming an anchor. This leads to what Finkelstein also calls cognitive tunnel vision. You assume that because you're an expert in your technical field, let's say engineering or finance, that you're naturally an expert in human behavior or business strategy. You stop listening, you stop growing, and leadership notices. They see a brilliant specialist who's too valuable and too rigid to ever lead a whole department. And that is the irony. The more indispensable you are as a specialist, the easier it is for the organization to keep you where you are. The second trap is one I struggled with: prioritizing being right over producing results. For the logical mind, the correct answer is the ultimate prize. We think that the world is a math problem where the most elegant solution wins. But the real world doesn't care about your perfect answer if it arrives 3 days after the deadline, or if you've had to burn every bridge in the office to prove that you were right. This manifests as maladaptive perfectionism. It's not about high standards, it's an anxiety-driven need for certainty. You over-research, you micro-adjust, and you polish the last 2% of a report whilst the window of opportunity is slamming shut. This was the biggest mistake I made in my first year as manager, and I just thought it was my high standards. But forcing team members to spend double the time on micro fixes and presentation that adds no real value isn't excellence, it's stupidity. So if there's anyone from my previous team that is watching this, sorry. I was still learning. Then comes analysis paralysis. Because you're smart, you see every variable. You see the 15 ways a project could fail or succeed. And so you get stuck in the paradox of choice. You're so afraid of making a suboptimal decision that you make no decision at all. In the logic trap, you win the argument, but you lose the opportunity. You prove your point, but stall the team's momentum. To the people above you, you don't look like a leader. You look like a bottleneck who values their own ego over the mission. Finally, we have the meritocracy trap. This is the belief that the work speaks for itself. You think that if you put your head down and produce high quality work, that the world will tap you on your shoulder and give you the keys to the kingdom. This is a lie. This is the visibility myth. Your IQ and qualifications might get you through the door, but EQ is what gets you promoted. Many smart people often dismiss office politics or networking as beneath them. Or even worse, they simply lack the social skills to build trust and influence. You might even label this as fake or performative. But if done authentically and genuinely, networking is just basic human cooperation in a professional environment. If you have no social capital and no organizational influence, your work, no matter how brilliant it is invisible. You are suffering from an over-reliance on meritocracy. You expect a gold star for effort, but leadership is looking for impact. They aren't just looking for the person who does the best work. They're looking for a person who can motivate, encourage, and inspire their team to produce their best work. If you haven't built the trust and network to lead, you become the hidden engine, the person everyone relies on to do the heavy lifting, but no one ever thinks to put in charge because they don't even know you. But I'm curious to hear from you. Which of these 3 traps are most common in your industry? Let me know in the comments below, as well as any other insights you may have. So how do you effectively move from team member to manager to leader beyond the usual basics? Simply put, you have to stop being the most smart, hardworking, or correct person in the room and start being the most effective. To move from team member to manager, you have to stop being the hero that saves the day and start being the architect that builds the processes. If you are the only one who can solve a problem, you're not an asset, you're a liability, a bottleneck. You need to prove that you can scale your intelligence by coaching others to do what is required. And to move from manager to leader, you need to stop focusing on how and start defining the why. A team member makes the train move. The manager ensures that it runs on time. But the leader decides even if the train is moving in the right direction. You may have to even start making high-stakes decisions with incomplete data. You have to stop managing the process and start driving the vision. So if you remember one thing, let it be this. Promotion isn't a reward for past performance. It's an investment in future potential. If you stay trapped in your expertise, logic, or meritocracy, you're telling the world that you've already reached your limit. The ceiling isn't made of glass, it's made of the habits that got you this far, but won't take you any further. If you have enjoyed this video, I think you would love my earlier video on why are we always busy, productive, and still falling behind. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn your bell notifications on so that you don't miss any future uploads. And follow me on my other platforms because this month we're exploring building wealth and career success. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.